so that you can see things in a different way. So it's a really beautiful experience, and I did not accept that beautiful experience. I was afraid of control, and that was the night that I found out that I was a control freak, that I was trying to control everything in my life, and I controlled everything in my life through lies. As a child, I was born 23 months after my brother, so I had approximated that I was a mistake because my mother told me that she didn't plan for me, and so I spent my whole life working to please my mother and making sure that no lies or no truths around me ever got back to my mother. So I lied to everyone to make sure that that orchestration was there. And so the amount of control I had to have over my environment was tremendous. And in that one ceremony, it opened me up over the next 2 weeks, not just in the ceremony, but in the next 2 weeks, the next actually 2 to 4 weeks, it opened me up into a space to see that I was trying to control everything, and my body started to become more easy. And so I didn't know that I was trying to control things. I didn't know that I was trying to manipulate everything. And it disabled my habit of control pattern to where I could actually see from outside of it. And so I started to let go of all of that control. I started to let go of all these things, and my body started to change. My body started to shift, and how I started to see things started to shift. And so all of the things, all of the studying, all of the things that I learned through the self-help books and all of the new agey stuff that I was reading started to synchronize and come together and make all this sense, because I was trying to control the way things were making sense in one way. It was very myopic. And so my eyesight, my vision started to open up inside my mind. And so I started to see things differently. I was also told that I'd be blind by the time I was age 40. I was diagnosed with something called retinitis pigmentosa in my early 20s. And I was told my periphery was closing in. And I was told that I'd be blind by the time I was 40. And in my psychedelic experiences, I got my eyesight to start opening back up. And I got my central eyesight to align itself. Yeah, I've had some really amazing things happen in psychedelics.
And he's now going to be 50 here in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So 10 years past what doctors told him. You know, and that's the thing, is between his experience, I resolved all my medical conditions, got my thyroid back to normal range, all of that. That's when we started to go, wow, there really is something to this psychedelic thing.
Yeah, there's a lot to this psychedelic thing. And so, you know, this is what, so Kole and I, so in these ceremonies that I went to the ceremony, and then I was like, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to do it again. And because, my old shit was coming back up around being, on substances and having these things control my life. And like 2 weeks later, I was like, I think I want to do this again, Kole. And so every month for a year, I was in a journey space. I was in a psychedelic expanded space every month in a facilitated situation. And my expansion, my growth within myself in that year was astronomical. And so at a point, Kole and I would go to these groups, and we wouldn't always participate, but we would be there and we would help. We would just sit with people and hold space. And we started to help people move through their experiences. And so the facilitators started asking us to come back.
And you did that for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Then you hear, I think I heard Kole say once a quarter. Like, is there a point where, because you hear about people overdosing on ketamine, right? Like, you hear about that. So is there a point where it's unsafe and it's dangerous and it can become addictive?
I mean, anything can. Food, alcohol, things that are all legal if you're over a certain age, right?
True.
Cigarettes, sugar, there's lots of things that can, but a lot of what's missing, and mostly what's missing in these spaces, are people are not educated, and there's not tests to see if what they're using is actually a pure form of what it's meant to be, or if it is some chemical recreation that is been compromised, because that's actually what's killing more people, not the substances themselves. It is a lack of education. And so that the same case would be with a car, right? If we put 14-year-olds behind a car with no driver's ed, what would the risk assessment be then? It would be very different, right? Because age, training, all of that stuff. So to answer your question, whether it's a month, a quarter, whatever, is up to the individual. The key aspect is having someone you trust to be able to, maybe if they can't guide you in the experiences, they're there to help coach you through your integration. Because if someone's going through big changes in their life, they're looking for clarity. They might only go once a quarter because they're already in so much chaos. Maybe they left their job or in a divorce. They're already in a psychedelic experience of some sort. Their life is already pretty chaotic. So they might want to go once a quarter to gain some more clarity and spend more time in the integration because there's so much going on. On the flip side, if someone is creating a program that they feel is for humanity and it's their purpose, they may be going monthly because that shift in perspective is helping them to align to what they believe is their mission. So to answer your question in more detail or to simplify it, it depends. And so having community and someone you trust and asking yourself the question, am I doing this to take a break from the life I'm in? Because you can easily use this as a more dissociative pattern of let me unplug from the life I don't want for the weekend and go enjoy this community that's being built in the psychedelic space or in these group retreats, only to go back to work on Monday to continue to participate in the same dysfunctional patterns and need to journey again in a month to be okay. That's an individual game. And so that comes down to meeting with someone. This is why we started training integration coaches, because we see the need. We see how imperative it is to the process. Like we said, there's no wrong way to do it per se, but there are some ways that can create more pain or more suffering. And with a clear framework, you can be reflecting on if this is functional for you. Because one person might say, I want to do a microdosing protocol where I'm doing, 0.01 of a gram every other day for 6 weeks, for 9 weeks, for 12 weeks. And I want to track how this might improve my life, right? Or someone might want to be doing once a month a 2-gram mushroom experience. Now, all of this varies. The type or species of mushroom varies on as far as potency. Again, this is why we wanted to train coaches, because it's something that it's all really hard to summarize. But if you have someone helping you get clear in what you want, and then supporting sovereignty so that you have check-ins and kind of like bumpers in a bowling alley. You're new to the game. Put up the bumpers so you can practice going for the strikes and get a feel for the ball until you no longer need those same rails up, right? If you've had a history with substance abuse, if you've had a history of depression, having people or a life team is what we call it, to ensure that you have protection. And I mean protection as far as in case you need something or in case you're not sure if you're doing it for the quote unquote right reasons. So that's why for us creating a framework, that's the difference, especially for people that maybe don't have the same amount of community they could talk to or want to ensure that they're doing this in a way that is for their growth, not as a coping mechanism.
So
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't have the support, right? Like what you were saying, there's a lot of people who would look at you if you said, okay, I want to do this and I want to really get to the root of my issues, right? And I think every one of us has some issues. I know I do. I
don't have an issue.
Oh, come on,
they're not an issue for me. They're an issue for other people.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But then there might not be that support. And as facilitators, you provide that support, correct? Does that make sense?
Yes.
I interrupted you, Talk. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we were jumping in at the same time. No interruption at all. Oh. From my vantage point, in order to talk about something being addictive, one has to look at what addiction is in and of itself. And there's a lot of really loose definitions of addiction being thrown about. And the definition that I relate the most to was revealed to me by Gabor Mate. And he has a book called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. And he speaks about addiction being a habit that has short-term benefits with long-term detrimental consequences. Okay. And so that's the space that I move from when we talk about addiction. And usually from my vantage point, my experience, the people that we've worked with and my addictive tendencies is when I'm leaning into something that's addictive, it's because I'm looking for a connection that I'm not finding. And so I connect with, a person, I connect with an activity, I connect with a substance, I connect with TV or video games or sex, whatever it is, I'm connecting with that because I'm looking to connect with something. And so it gives me a short-term fix that over a long period of time has a detrimental consequence to it. And when you look at any type of addiction, it is a short-term benefit with a long-term detrimental consequence. So the fears around addiction are usually trumped up by healthcare practitioners and people who don't see this. And it's attributed to the substance. It's not the substance, it's the lifestyle. And this is one of the reasons why we have such a deep intake process with what we do, is because if we have somebody that has an addictive tendency, an addictive quality, an addictive propensity in their lives, we will outsource them to someone else to actually help them navigate that habit before they come and work with us in a space. We're not here just trying to get people into a psychedelic space to blast them open. If a person, we have what we call journey hoppers. And these are people who get addicted to the community because they're looking to connect. They get addicted to being away from their regular lives thing.
Or their spouse, their kids.
So they'll go to a journey every week or twice a week. They're hopping from journey to journey because they're looking for connection. It's not the substances. And when you can get to the foundation of what's going on with a person, it's never the substance. It's never the activity. It's usually
to feel healthy, right? Heal thy. As I reached 60% of heal thy, I saw if there was 35 or 40%, that was the first time I believed that pain-free was possible and that vitality and to actually want to stay on this planet longer was possible. And so psychedelics and these master mycelium and incredible teachers gave me the opportunity to see and obtain and create that last 40%. As long as I was in pain, I was blocking my passion and my purpose, and when I first entered into changing my life and my diet, I was just trying to get from a 7 out of 10 every morning. I was like, man, if I could start my day at a 6 every day, I could get out of bed. I was looking for the suck less. And so once that measurement got to where it might be possible to enjoy my body in my life, I became super committed to explore anything. And as most people do, they come to this work out of inspiration or desperation. And I was desperate enough to explore. And so what these power plants and master mycelium gave me was my mission and my purpose, my commitment, my knowing I was always placed here for something, but it had felt like so long I'd never be able to achieve it because of my body. And it was like I have all the passion and desire burning in my heart as possible, but it's like my body couldn't keep up. And that was so frustrating and maddening and made me hate my body on so many levels. What they gave me was a deep love and appreciation for my body to mend that relationship and many other relationships that needed to be mended that I could not have found any other way. I could not have reached the deep levels of self-compassion, the deep levels of forgiveness for myself, for things I perceived I'd ever done wrong, that I was trying to, on some levels, make up for and overcompensate for. I got to clear the air to get the energy charged up in my body to be really unstoppable with what I'm here to do. And there's no other way I could have gotten there.
Wow, very powerful. So you even brought tears to my eyes.
I barely held it together, and the only reason I did is because I just did my makeup and we have a dinner to go to. Normally, I just let the tears fully go.
Well, no, but, I do believe that, you have to get yourself to a point where you can do the things. Like you're feeling okay enough to cook for yourself.
Yeah.
I can cook a meal and I can eat whole real foods because I can cook. I'm feeling well enough. So everything that you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. And so you were to hear, but you got yourself up to here.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge because you guys are on a mission that is beautiful. And everything that you speak of is beautiful because I've listened to you guys for months now. And I want to thank you so, so much for coming today. I really appreciate meeting you and having you here.
That's mutual.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for this podcast. Thank you for the work that you do. Just thank you for being you. Much appreciated.
Okay, I pressed